Hey, you. Imagine getting ready to get into some Star Citizen one day, and then you discover that the features you've been waiting on for years now, NPC crew, drones, well, all of a sudden, they can't exist. Not from a lack of resources or because of technical limits, but because Nintendo patented the idea itself. That's the scary overreach we're starting to see with these new Nintendo patents, and yes, it could touch Star Citizen. So as you might have heard, in Nintendo's pursuit of trying to wipe Pal World off the face of the earth, they filed for and received 2 patents with ridiculous potential consequences for the entire gaming industry. Like I said, you might have heard about it, so I ain't gonna go too deep into them, but patent 12,403,397, summoning and battling, things that half of all games do. What this covers is the flow of calling in a sub-character, which could be anything, an NPC, a pet, a drone. You know we want some drones in this game like yesterday. So a sub-character that auto-travels, switches into battle mode when enemies appear, and reverts to auto when they're gone. So right now, Star Citizen doesn't have anything that could be conveyed as a summonable character unless you catch your org mate that's on the game 24 hours. You can just hit them up when you have a problem. But several months back, I did a video on NPC crew, which is something that could be potentially affected by this patent. So the idea is that you can have NPCs on your ship that you're commanding. They can be in their own ships. You can order them around. They can travel with you, providing escort services. Not those kind of escort services. I know how you think. But basically, they can run with you as you go. Then if NPC enemies appear, there's a good chance that they're going to automatically start attacking them. And then once the enemies are wiped out, then they'll revert back to auto. That's covered in the patent. So all these years go by, we waiting on NPC crew, finally get to a place where they could be around the corner. Well, who wants to get into a big lawsuit with a company like Nintendo that got billions in the bank? One way CIG could get around that is to make it so that you have to continuously give them commands. So they can't just be out there auto-attacking enemies when they show up. You got to be continuously giving them commands. And once the enemies are wiped out, you command them to stand down. It makes it way too complicated. It's unreasonable. And part of the deal with the patent office is that they're supposed to challenge patents that could potentially stifle progress of things as we go into the future. Clearly, granting this was a violation of that. Now imagine content creators of every single game out there is talking about this same thing, how it could affect their game, because it can affect just about anything out there. And it's not as if Nintendo invented these things. These things predate anything Nintendo has done by years and years. So many RPGs before Nintendo. So many things that existed before these patents. It just bleeds into everything. So Star Citizen doesn't currently use these summonable sub-characters, but they're supposed to be coming. They're in the pipe. CIG has talked about pets before. I don't know if they had the idea of maybe the pets will follow you around and fight with you, but if they did, now they got to think about a lawsuit. So there's that. And then there's other patent. It's patent 12,403,387, smooth switching of riding objects. And what that covers is automatic switching between ground and air mounts or vehicles without interruption. So think about GTA Online. You got that rocket bike. It drives down the street. Then you could just lift up the front wheel and all of a sudden you floating, you gliding through the air and you're flying. There's no transition between the states, which makes it coverable by this patent, which since it's been granted, Nintendo could potentially bring a lawsuit against them. Right now in Star Citizen, vehicle entry, docking, all the transfers are explicitly player-driven actions. They're not automatic context switches. But that's not to say that CIG might not bring their own version of GTA's rocket bike, or maybe an amphibious vehicle. You're staring that thing over a river, then you see shore. Actually, I don't know if watercraft would specifically be covered under that. Maybe if you steer it over the water and then automatically goes into a flight mode with no interruption in between, potential lawsuit. Got your hover bikes in the game right now, but none of them will take off from the ground and then start flying through the air. But if they had a vehicle that does that in mind, potential lawsuit. So now every single thing that CIG and other developers do, they got to think about, well, is it worth doing? Because Nintendo might bring a lawsuit. And even if you got a solid case to win, you get tied up in court for eons. You got to pay them lawyers. So these aren't pro bono cases, man. You got to peel off some bread for these people. And that's how a lot of individuals get taken by people with big lawyers that can just draw out the amount of time that you got to pay a lawyer, which will end up bankrupting you, even if you have an easy slam dunk of a case. So it's something to think about. AI companions, deployable mercs, combat drones, or any kind of creature companions that behave autonomously, we may not see it because of this. Also, traversal chains, where vehicle transitions from flying to driving or vice versa. That's at risk. Any kind of press once and the game does a rest approach to mobility or combat assistance could resemble the flows in the patents. So to steer clear of it, CIG will have to keep mechanics manual and explicit, where the player confirms every transfer or command if they decided to do anything resembling that approach. But for today, Star Citizen's mostly safe, but tomorrow, as the game grows towards NPC crew, possible companions, traversal polish, Nintendo's overbroad claims could cause some problems. End of the day, these patents aren't just about Nintendo protecting mechanics. They're about who gets to decide what's possible in our games we buy. If broad claims like this continue to stand, the risk ain't just to Star Citizen's future systems, but to the creativity of the entire industry, man. So, real question is, do we want innovation in gaming decided by developers or locked away in Nintendo's patent vault?